You're in the 06010.
What's good, friends? Welcome into Fantasy Focus Football alongside Field Yates and Mike Clay. My name is Daniel Dopp. Fantasy Focus is presented by Little Caesars, and we have a big show planned for you today. Part 1 of our Week 6 preview. We're going to dive into a handful of takeaways, or not takeaways, I guess it is preview ideas or things that we have that we believe is going to happen here in Week 6. We're also going to do some upgrades and downgrades a little bit later on in the show. And then maybe we'll come back with a shadow report as we always do from the playbook that is out.
Gotcha.
Maybe. We'll see if we have some time, Michael.
Yeah. By the way, our predicting what may happen this week, that is our job.
That is what we do. That is what we do.
Yes, we are here mostly to give you names of players that are not rostered in 99.97% of leagues.
That's right.
That might score one touchdown. That is our primary function on this podcast. Yeah,
well, I need to start the show off with a quick thing real fast. Yesterday, I found out what level of friend I was to Field Yates.
Okay, tell me more.
Okay, so like, you know how we have different levels of friendship, everyone? Like, you know, relationships have different levels of stuff. That's how it works.
Like you and I are best friends, and me and Field we're colleagues.
Exactly.
We
it's
are
that kind
associates.
of thing.
I would say associates is the proper term.
So,
checks out.
I looked down at my phone yesterday, and I recognized, I missed a call from Field. I must have had my ringer on silent. I didn't notice it. And so I go to call Field back, and surprisingly, Field doesn't answer, which doesn't happen very often. Usually Field is like,
police?
I did not. I thought about it, but I was like, I'll give it a few minutes. And within like 30 seconds, Field immediately calls me back, and he says, hey, my bad. I called you, and then I set my phone down, and I went to the bathroom. And while I was peeing, I actually got the notification on my Apple Watch that you were calling me, and I had to make the decision. Am I going to answer or am I not going to answer? And some friends are P friends and some friends are not P friends. You know what I mean?
You're not a P friend.
I'm not a P friend, it found out, to Field Yates. We all have P friends in our lives, though.
Sad.
Wait, is it, if you're a P friend, does that mean you're a stronger friend?
Yes, exactly. Absolutely,
I thought it was
Field.
a sign of respect, but what do I know?
Yeah, you put him above going to the bathroom, but you clearly put going to the bathroom
above me. Yes,
Daniel.
I have absolutely been on the phone with both of you while I have done both of the things. I've been pulling double duty a number of times that we've been on the phone with each other. That's how much I love you guys, for what it's worth.
Wow.
Okay.
Sounds like
is that a
don't worry.
Is that a double entendre?
Yeah,
What's
maybe.
He's your number 2 level friend.
That's it.
Number 1 friend.
All right, well, that's gonna
shows off the rails.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into a couple of things. First off, shout out to our friends over at Trophy Smack. Head on over to trophysmack.com. Use the promo code FOCUS10 for 10% off your first order using the promo code FOCUS10. Our buddy Eric Moody hanging out in chat.
Yeah, he is.
As he always does. Go hang out with our buddy Eric Moody. And so make sure you hang out with them. And just in case I didn't say it, I want to say it one more time. Shout out to our friends over at Little Caesars. Today's show is presented by Little Caesars. All right, let's dive into
my pizza.
You and me both. I may have a line on another 15% off for next week, maybe a little later on in the show.
Okay.
We'll talk about that.
Wow.
So let's dive into our Week 6 preview, Part 1, though, my friends. We each brought a couple of things to the table. Field, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. There is an opportunity for a quarterback to smash this weekend. The question is, will said quarterback smash? My first talking point for Week 6 is, on paper, it's a great matchup for Justin Herbert.
Oh, okay.
But Justin Herbert has been struggling a
There
little
has
bit
been some struggles.
of late. So the Dolphins rank 30th in fantasy points per game allowed to opposing quarterbacks. How about this? Quarterbacks are averaging 23.59 points per game against the Dolphins. The only one who hasn't been great was Bryce Young last week, who Bryce had a careless turnover in the first half, had another interception later on in the game. Wasn't great. They ended up getting a big come-from-behind win, but Bryce was not dominant by any stretch for fantasy purposes. Unlike the 4 quarterbacks that face the Dolphins prior to Bryce Young, he's not a particularly mobile player. He has some mobility, but not at the same level of Daniel Jones and Josh Allen and Drake May and the sort. Justin Herbert, probably like Bryce Young in the sense that he's not a super mobile quarterback. He does have some mobility, though. The big difference is that Justin Herbert is a superior player to Bryce Young. Herbert's last 3 games, he's been quarterback 18, quarterback 18, quarterback 17. He's under 15 fantasy points in 3 straight games. He has exactly 1 touchdown pass in 3 straight games. Over the past 2 weeks, he has a total of 369 passing yards. There are some caution points here for Justin Herbert.
You said over the last 3 weeks?
2 points. 2 games.
2 games. He has 369 passing yards. Oh,
Correct.
my gosh.
Yep. So that's under 185 per game. And yet he's still quarterback 5 for me this week because the matchup is so good on paper. On top of that, I know that we've talked a lot about the running backs. It's been a very pass-aggressive offense in LA so far this season.
Yeah.
And maybe if the running backs aren't as good as Rico Dowdle was last week, they don't have a choice but to run the football a little bit more this week as well.
Yeah, big problem here is touchdowns. They're not scoring. There's only a handful of teams. They're averaging 2.0 on the nose offensive touchdowns per game. The league average is 2.4. That's a huge gap. That's a problem. There's only a handful of teams below them, and they're all teams, if you looked at it, you'd be like, that's not good company. That's the worst teams in the NFL.
That's one of those stats that's good for you to put context on, because for them to be at 2 and for 2.4 to be average, and you're like, that's way below average. Like, that doesn't sound like it's as big of a gap.
Acceptable for a Justin Herbert-led offense. So they have to figure that out for sure. I have a little confidence they will because he's so good, and it seems like he, at least at the beginning of the season, was playing at a high level. That's dwindled a little bit, but I'm confident they could get back on track. So I agree with you. He is QB 4 for me this week, so I agree.
Okay, it's funny because like when you were first responding to my analysis, it almost sounded like you were disagreeing.
Yeah,
with
I heard it too.
And then you have him one spot ahead of me.
The matchup. I mean,
yes,
they're playing the Dolphins.
so good.
Right.
That is the big takeaway here is that despite Justin Herbert's relative recent struggles, and we're talking for fantasy, but to a degree reality as well, of being over the last 2 weeks, again, quarterback 18, quarterback 18, quarterback 17. If you started him in any or all of the past 3 weeks, you were probably disappointed by the results.
Yep.
Despite that, he has a golden opportunity to bounce back in a major way this weekend.
Yeah, a little foreshadowing, but later I have a similar quarterback who hasn't been, over a long-term period, hasn't been a good fantasy quarterback, has recently, but great matchup this week.
Here comes
so we'll
Mike's thoughts on Josh Allen later on.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah.
Why don't you go next, Mike Clay?
Well, I'm going to save that one for a little bit because I have another one here I want to start with. Remember a couple weeks ago, we did the running back 2
Bonanza.
Bonanza. Right. We went through kind of all those options because there were so many. Well, this week I was like, we had a lot of tight end 2s, if you will, or fringe tight end 1s who have emerged over the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to do the same thing.
Can I rename this category?
Yes. How about the tight end treasure trove? Do you like that name?
That works. I was going to go with tight ends not named Jake Ferguson or Trey McBride.
Well, I'm going a little deeper than that. I'm going to go a little deeper than that.
I'm just saying, like, those are like the only 2 that I actually trust right now.
Yeah. So I wrote the playbook.
I don't mean that, but it's a pretty small list.
It is. Well, I cut it off. We have Ferguson, McBride, Bowers. We'll see if he goes this week, but that just makes these guys we're going to talk about more important if he doesn't. Sam Laporta, Tyler Warren, Tucker Kraft's back against Cincinnati, and Travis Kelce off a big game. I'd include all those guys as if you have them, you're starting them. After that, it gets a little tricky. So we'll do the same thing. Okay. I'm going to run through these names, how I have them in my rankings. We'll go from 8 to, we'll say 22. And then you guys just stop me if you want to talk about any of these guys. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And again, I wrote about a lot of these in the playbook this week because it's such a prominent thing that developed last week. So,
I can't read, but I encourage those who do know how to read to
Agreed. I actually highlighted the whole thing and then did Google Read for me, and then it just read me the article.
Oh, that's smart guy. Yeah, that's all right. All right. 8, Hunter Henry.
Stop.
Okay.
You said stop me. I just wanted to say stop.
All right. No. I need 5 minutes of analysis.
Wait, Hunter Henry's been really good so far this year. He's been like one of the trusted targets. Is there a fear?
He's been a little bit Jekyll and Hyde.
There has been a little bit of that. And
like
we haven't seen Stephon Diggs come on as a major pass catcher in that offense.
Yeah,
too.
in terms of points per game, he's ahead of Bowers, Laporta, Kelce, but he did spike a little bit there. Good matchup for him against the Saints, and that's why he's at 8, and he leads this list. 9.
2 or fewer catches in 3 of his 5 games.
Right there you go. Yep. But we still like him. Trusted target of Drake May since last season, actually. At 9, David Njoku.
Yeah.
Interesting one. Now back on track after last week. Good connection with Dylan Gabriel.
Yep.
So good there. Okay.
Yep.
10. How about the leader in fantasy points per game at tight end, Darren Waller?
Yeah.
Darren Waller.
I'm fine with it too. We talked about it yesterday. Like, I understand the idea of trading, selling high, as Daniel suggested. I also understand that, like, if you're going to be starting somebody else who's not yet mentioned in Mike's 10 tight ends, then I'm okay with holding Darren Waller.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think somewhere in that top 8 to 12 range is fine for Darren.
Agreed.
Waller.
That's appropriate.
Yep. All right, this guy has been a touchdown machine so far. Dallas Goedert is next up on the list at 12 or at 11 here, so he's been fine as the Giants tonight.
Yep.
Now is where it starts to get a little interesting with guys that are quick risers. Mason Taylor
the volume
against
here of late.
Denver. Yeah, big target shares in back-to-back games. Obviously, a good connection there with Justin Fields. I still worry a little bit, though, about the volume in that offense, the pass volume. Is it going to be sustainable for Garrett Wilson, who we talked about yesterday? Yeah. And can they support Mason Taylor as a tight end 1?
Okay. I think that he's right on the border here as well. Good player. The Jets might throw the ball 25 times in a game, but on Sunday, if they're down against this Broncos team, and one of the like under-discussed, I don't know if anything's under-discussed in the NFL, but one of the storylines that I feel like hasn't been discussed as much as it feels like it should be so far for me is what happened to the Jets defense?
Yeah, it's been horrific.
Like you would tell yourself, like if you haven't paid that much attention to the Jets defense, you'd be like, yeah, I know the Broncos have a great defense, but the Jets can contain the Broncos, right? Yeah. Maybe not so much. Like Sauce Gardner was excellent last week for the most part against George Pickens, but they are not a good defense right
Agreed.
now.
It's
total
kind of
surprise.
It's kind of shocking too.
Yeah.
But
so I say that only because there is a chance that the Jets are playing catch up once again on Sunday because they can't lose games or win games for that matter 16-13 right now.
Yeah, it turns out Robert Saleh might be a good defensive coach because when he left the Jets, when he was fired, the defense fell apart, and now he's in San Francisco, and that team on paper does not look great, and they've been solid. And the Jets' defense has remained very poor.
Yeah, the Jets are, look at this, 1, 2, 3. They're like a bottom 10 defense right now.
Yeah, they're allowing 3 touchdowns a game, a little over
31.4, second worst in the NFL. The Jets, whoa.
Yeah, shocking.
Does Mason, can I ask one last question? Does Mason Taylor only have the ability to go up from here? Because if anything happens, I've seen, and I get your volume concerns, but if they decide that Justin Fields isn't the answer, don't you think that means a more competent passing quarterback gets into play
volume,
here? Rod Taylor. Yeah, I thought for a while, I was on the train of Justin might not start every game this season.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of don't know. I don't. With Tyrod Taylor, what does Tyrod Taylor do for the long term?
He gives you kind of what Joe Flacco gives you, a little bit of, kind of solidifies things a little bit.
But they're the only winless team in the NFL. At some point, the Jets have to acknowledge that 2025 is really about getting the defensive players to understand this new scheme and the new verbiage, and then developing the young players
seeing what
they have
on
both sides.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Armand Membu and some of the young offensive linemen and some of the players they invested in this year's draft class.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, so that's Taylor at 12. Kyle Pitts is checking in at 13 as the Bills.
Resurgence.
Matchup.
Post-hype sleeper.
Yeah,
I love
it. No doubt.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Yep, thank you.
Mark Andrews at 14. All right.
I you can't even opine on Mark Andrews anymore.
I know. There's no way. He's going to finish 40th or 2nd. We just don't know.
I actually think 14th is perfect because I don't feel good starting him whenever I put him in my lineup, but he is markedly better than the guys that are behind him on this list from a talent perspective.
The thing that Mike is doing right now only underscores why anybody who listens to this show knows how much of an advocate I am for the idea of I am not against putting ranking numbers next to every single player, 1 through 50 or whatever, 1 through 25 at tight end or quarterback. But I do believe that buckets matter so much more.
Yeah, that's kind of the point. This is a huge bucket.
Hey, if you want me to differentiate very sort of succinctly between Mark Andrews and Dallas Goedert, I don't have a great answer for you.
Yeah, I think 8 or 9 on this list could be swapped with 21 and 22, as we'll get to. We'll be all right,
I feel pretty good. Once you got past, I don't know. I feel like I felt pretty good about Darren Waller.
Henry and Njoku, Waller. But then again, Waller, this is going to be his 3rd game. And I don't know. He has such a history of going down and, he fell apart in the second half last week. So I don't know. I'm not all the way in there.
Sounds like a trade candidate. You know what I'm saying, guys?
Sell high. Yeah. So, all right. So we have Henry and Njoku, Waller, Goddard, Taylor, Kyle Pitts, Mark Andrews. Now, Harold Fannin, the other Browns tight end, scored last week.
He's not going away.
No Cedric Tillman. So they're going to continue to feature him. So he's been pretty good.
We got one mitigating factor for Harold Fannin.
Okay.
Yards per catch.
Yeah. Short range target.
But I am at Harold Fannin so far this year is at 8.2 yards per catch. 8.2. Last week he had 3.3 yards per catch.
Yikes.
So, not a gigantic number there. It's not like all these tight ends are big long range targets, but the explosive plays are decent volume, but not a lot of explosive.
Yeah, he's a full-time offensive player. It's a rare situation. You don't see that a lot in the NFL because when you're throwing the ball, you're going to have 3 wide receivers on the field. And we did see a little bit of that from, for example, the Giants are another example. They were very 12 heavy last week, and then you had the injury to Slayton, and then they went it kind of shook up things. They were trailing. So
he ranks 109th in yards per catch so far this season. Although, you know what? Hilariously,
does that include wide receivers?
Jake Ferguson is down at 6.6 yards per reception.
PPR monsters.
Yeah,
PPR monsters.
41 catches though compared to 21 for Fantasy.
It's
How about this guy? I asked you guys about this guy last week, and you weren't all the way back in yet, but he scored a touchdown last week. Evan Ingram.
Yeah. Better for sure last week.
His prop at ESPN bet is 2.5 catches. I was like, hammer that. I mean, he seems like he's back now. Played a lot of snaps. He's back involved in the passing game.
Yep, totally.
So I think if he's on waivers, he might get back into the tight end one conversation.
Yep.
So
and
he is definitely on
7.9
waivers.
yards per catch. He is
available in basically 50% of ESPN leagues.
Put him on the waiver wire column next week.
Again,
Eric Carabo. Yeah.
It's one of them situations, much like all these other guys, where you're like, I'm not going to keep 5 tight ends on my bench. They're like, you have to pick and choose from these guys, which is why we're rolling through them. Speaking of which, here's another one. This guy plays tonight. Theo Johnson, 3 touchdowns in his last 2 games, had 2 last week. However, he is much like Fannin. He's not putting the yards up. He's never had more than 54 yards in a game in his career. And that number's lower this season.
I've got some optimism here, not for like totally changing the yards per catch part, but just total yards, but just like the player is intriguing to me. He's a super athletic tight end. And I mentioned this Monday, Tuesday, and I think Wednesday as well. So might as well keep the streak going. 17 of Jackson Dart's 26 completions last weekend went to running backs or tight ends. He has all of Jackson Dart's career touchdown passes.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of them. There's only been 3, but all of them have gone to Theo Johnson.
That's legit.
Yeah, no Darius Slayton tonight too. So we're going to get, it sounds like Lil Jordan Humphrey is going to be the guy that replaces Slayton.
Lil Jordan, baby.
It's going to be a lot of 12 personnel. I like, by the way, Daniel Bellinger anytime touchdown.
Oh, I like that. What do you think?
Save some of the meat on the bone for the game preview later.
Forgot about that.
What do you think rookies do in a situation like that where Jackson Dart throws his first career passing touchdown and Theo Johnson has his first career receiving touchdown, but it's the same football?
I think what you do is you cut it in half.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Both of them. Or what you do is, you guys ever watch that show, Is It Cake?
Yes.
Yeah. You give one of them the actual
one of them
ball,
cake
and the other one gets cake. And we just don't know which is which.
Okay.
I love that.
And then we play a game of
I'm
Is
good
It
with
Cake
that.
later, right?
I like it.
That's good. All right, let's wrap this up. We got a couple more. Jake Tonjes looking more appealing now with Ricky Pearsall looking doubtful. We'll see on Juwan Jennings. We might not have Brock Purdy either, but Jake Tonjes just a serviceable tight end too. If you need to.
My last comment on these. Did you guys think at all when we were watching the game last Thursday night when Jake Tonjes and Kendrick Bourne are going off? Kendrick Bourne joined the 49ers very late in training camp, so to a lesser degree. But he played with Mac Jones for 3 or 4 seasons in New England.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Jake Tonjes also had probably all of Mac Jones reps with the number 2 offense, where with Jake Tonjes, we were like, maybe Mac is just going to the guys that he's comfortable with. Obviously, there was no Ricky Pearsall, no Juwan Jennings.
Yeah, there was no one else, though.
There was no one else, but just
all the second team.
But Demarcus Robinson, who also, he's been out for 3 weeks. Yeah. I don't know. I would just think about that. I was like, maybe Mac just is comfortable with that.
I would agree if it would, but he was also throwing to McCaffrey, but he was the only other starter there.
Yeah, I just, there's it's a law in California. You have to throw the ball to Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, that's of course.
Yes, a certain number of times a game.
All right. Zach Ertz at 19, coming off a dud last week, but he's been fine.
He had a bye week last week, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you started him, he did.
It feels like it.
Yeah.
I really expected him to do more without Terry McLaurin being in the offense. It's just been all Deebo Samuel and Luke McCaffrey and everyone else. Anyways, keep going.
I have a lot of Ben Sinnott in Dynasty, so I would like them to turn the corner. This one's the interesting one for sure. But I talked about him yesterday as a guy you can consider selling. Dalton Kincaid, way down the ranks. This guy's averaging 13 points per game. I have him at 20 this week. I talked yesterday about the reasons I'm concerned, including not clearing 6 targets in a game, and he can disappear quick the way they spread the ball around. Also, Atlanta has led the fewest fantasy points to tight ends this season. They've been dominant in that area, and that's points per game. Obviously, they've had their bye. So I'm out on Kincaid for sure.
Yeah, Kincaid had, and I feel like you've already mentioned this basically, Mike, but there was a game where you had 1 catch for 28 yards, 2 targets, and a touchdown.
We're going to have more of those. We've had that. We've seen some of the ceiling games.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we're going to sustain that based on his
unless he's getting in the end zone, you're not really feeling it. So he just kind of feels like a touchdown dependent tight end right now.
Okay. Last two, Juwan Johnson, keeping an eye on his health. We expect him to play, but we're going to get more Taysom Hill as we go forward. And Foster Moreau is going to get some targets too. And then the next one is, this was a popular waiver ad this week, guys. AJ Barner for Seattle. My concern with him is that Elijah Arroyo hasn't been playing as well. And I think just as time goes on, they're going to have to find ways to work him in. So I think Barner's fine, but I don't think it feels like Tyler Higbee almost, right? It's just, I don't know if he's ever going to get over the top as a starter.
I like that comp. I like that. I've been waiting for Elijah Arroyo to be the guy because I have a lot of best ball shares of him.
Oh, yeah. I have him in Dynasty as well. And then you get Jatavian Sanders, Jonnu Smith, Chico Okonkwo. Okonkwo's going down with Gunnar Helm taking on a larger role, so I'd be worried about him. Cade Otton, Hunter Long for Jacksonville, Mike Gesicki, Tyler Higbee. I just mentioned Helm. Like, so many guys. This is just so many guys.
Remember last year when Jonnu Smith was like a top 5 tight end, and then he got traded to be back into an Arthur Smith offense, and then tight end was just decimated, and still Jonnu Smith is outside the top 20 again?
Yeah, I mean, last game we saw them, basically they benched Freiermuth and Smith for Darrell Washington.
Yeah, Darnell Washington's huge, too. Yeah. I love watching him play football.
By the way, you said Darrell. They played the Browns this weekend, too, so you got to imagine there'll be a lot of Darnell Washington to help for...
By the way,
blocking Myles Garrett.
That's right.
I would love it if they featured him more because that guy is massive. Like when he catches the ball, you're like, why is an offensive lineman catching the football?
Yes. You don't actually know if he catches it because you can't see the ball inside of his hands. You're like, did it go right through his hands or is it stuck inside those gigantic bear claws?
I want them to feature him.
Why is Andre the Giant have football pads on? I don't understand what's happening here.
Rules.
All right, nice job, Matt. All right, next one here. I got... That's because you called him Darrell. Thank you. I know. I appreciate you, Field. I know. We're almost P friends. We're so close to being there. I got a couple of. I just want to talk about matchups here more than anything because I got 2 really good running backs. But I just want to highlight to everybody every time that we talk about these teams, we just seem to find ourselves always wanting to play running backs against these guys. So Josh Jacobs, this week against the Cincinnati Bengals. Play him because of that. Not just because he's Josh Jacobs, although you're going to play him anyways, but Josh Jacobs, over 20 touches in every single game this year, super safe floor, 12 or more fantasy points in every single game, went off in week 4, 26 touches, 154 yards, 4 catches, and 2 touchdowns. And this week, he gets to take on the Bengals, who have given up the most fantasy points to running backs. In fact, every single team, a running back has had at least 16.5 fantasy points that have played the Cincinnati Bengals this year. The Lions had 2 guys that had over 16.5 fantasy points take on the Bengals. Josh Jacobs is the only guy there. He is a top 5 option here in week 6. Plus 275 to score 2 touchdowns at ESPN Bet. Ooh, I think that might not be a bad idea here with Josh Jacobs.
Wow, really? To score 2. And to score 1, I think, is like minus.
He's like minus 2 something. Yeah, it's crazy. So we think Josh Jacobs is going to find the end zone once. The other one is Ashton Genty taking on the Tennessee Titans. Ashton Genty on the heels of back-to-back monster games, 19 touches and over 100 yards from scrimmage in both of those games. I don't want to say they're coming together for the Raiders, but it kind of feels like we're getting things moving in the right direction for Ashton Genty and this running game a little bit.
So we are. You know what? And let me pull this up. It'll take me a second. So you guys keep talking because I do think it's to the eye, the yards before contact is definitely improving.
Feels better, right? Yeah.
Much, much better.
Titans have given up at least 20 fantasy points to opposing teams' running backs every single week this season. They've allowed 8 touchdowns to running backs. That is the most in the NFL. Ashton Genty minus 130 to score a touchdown at ESPN Bet. I'm all over that one as well. 3rd most points to the position, including huge games to Jonathan Taylor, had over 32 fantasy points. Woody Marks had over 28 fantasy points just this last week. Michael Carter, coming straight off the bench, had over 18 fantasy points, so he checks in for me as running back 9. The main takeaway here, though, is you are obviously already going to start Ashton Genty and Josh Jacobs. It's just to always remember, right now in 2025, if your running backs play the Cincinnati Bengals or the Tennessee Titans, find a way to get him in your fantasy lineup.
Just to put a number to what I was suggesting about Ashton Genty, this is not a great number when you look at it relative to most running backs, but compared to where it was for Genty after just a couple of weeks, it's much improved. He's now at 1.32 yards per rush before contact.
Okay.
Or before contact per rush. So we are definitely seeing better offensive line play of late for the Raiders, which last week actually happened without their best offensive lineman in Colton Miller, who is out now.
It wasn't basically 0. I mean, wasn't he like...
It was negative.
Yeah, it was negative.
0.
So we're progressing.
So we're progressing.
We're moving in the right direction. You kind of see that.
Right direction. Good matchup, as Daniel mentioned as well. There is a very, very banged-up Lions secondary that will travel to Arrowhead Stadium on Sunday night for a game that I can't wait to see. The Lions so far this season have been dead middle, 16th in fantasy points per game versus opposing quarterbacks. Is there a potential mammoth Mahomes game coming on Sunday night? Daniel, you can earmuff it for this part. Mike Clay trivia right here. How many players have scored 25 points or more in a game this year more times than Patrick Mahomes?
How many quarterbacks or players?
Players in all fantasy football. We've played 5 weeks of games. How many have more than Patrick Mahomes games with 25?
Say he is 3. I will say 2.
I don't.
There's got to be more quarterbacks.
So I know that Dak Prescott has 2 games over 28 fantasy points. So I'm going to say Dak is the only.
I'm going to say 8 because of quarterback.
8. There are 0 players with more 25-plus fantasy point games this year than Patrick Mahomes, right? So he's got 3, which no one has even 4. It's Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, one other quarterback, and Jonathan Taylor. Apologies for not. I think
Puka's not in there.
No, Puka's not. He's close, but not.
Wow.
But the bottom line is that Mahomes has had a lot of ceilings so far this season, with one notable caveat. There's a common thread in each of Patrick Mahomes' 25-plus fantasy point games. That thread is that he has 50 or more rushing yards. In all 3 of those games. Mike Clay trivia once again. How many design runs does Patrick Mahomes have this season?
How many design runs? 2.
I would say 2 as well.
You guys are correct. The answer is 2.
Wow, no way. Okay.
So it's a weird thing. It's like, the rushing is really good, but the only way the rushing happens is if the offensive line has some struggles with the Lions' defensive front. It's just harder to predict scrambles than it is designed runs. So it's a weird one. I think we all have Mahomes as a starter. I think the question is the smash week inevitable against a Lions team that this week will be without 3 of their top 4 cornerbacks compared to the start of training camp. There will be no Terrion Arnold. There will be no DJ Reed. Ennis Rakestraw got hurt in training camp, so he has been out. But still, the point is, August 1st, if you were looking at this matchup, you're saying, here's the secondary. October 9th, you're looking at this matchup, and it's a very different look at that secondary.
Yeah, Amik Robertson and Rocky Sin just kind of hit a little bit different than those other guys.
It does.
Trey Flowers, Avonte Maddox, those are the guys that are going to be
also, Kirby Joseph was a DNP. I do think we have 2 of the better safeties in the league with Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph, but we need both of those guys out there with the cornerbacks depth that we're dealing with.
So I think there's a chance for a big day for Patrick Mahomes. I would say personally, in terms of the possibility of Mahomes having season-long top 3 to 5 quarterback upside, I would like Mahomes to get the job done through the air more than just as a scrambler, because I think the scrambling is more difficult to predict week over week.
Yeah, still they're the pass heaviest offense in the NFL now. They passed the Chargers last week, and they're averaging about 3 touchdowns a game. They're kind of back from where they've been the last couple of years, where they've been at or below average
at all.
Yeah, they can't run, but that's good for Mahomes. But they have, they're we'll say game script adjusted pass rate is similar to where it's been the last few years, even when Pacheco is running well. So they just choose to throw the ball out.
Yeah,
All right.
Can I tell you guys really quickly that Patrick Mahomes is 3rd in the NFL in fantasy points via the rush amongst the quarterback position?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Which is crazy.
Scrambles.
He just doesn't do that. Anyways, all right, let's keep going. Mike, give me another one.
I'm going to stick with quarterbacks here. 2 guys coming off big games and playing at a very high level right now. One I like and one I don't like this week. The one I do not like, fellas, is Sam Darnold. Do not like in fantasy, to be very clear. Coming off a huge game
in real life.
28 of 34, 341 yards, 4 touchdowns last week, was QB3 with 27.6 fantasy points. And I lay that all out because it was his first top 8 fantasy outing of the entire season. He entered the week with 1 weekly finish better than 18th. That was 9th in week 3, and a total of 5 touchdowns. Again, he had 4 in that game. He entered the game with 5 on the entire season. He is 7th in passing yards, but it's a very run-heavy offense. He's 21st in pass attempts, and this is a little disappointing based on what we saw last season. Now, we don't expect him to be a big rusher, but he's doing basically nothing. He has 38 yards on 3 carries this entire season, so we can't count on much from him rushing. They're going into Jacksonville. It's a long trip for them. They have faced the 2nd most pass attempts have the Jags this season, but lead the NFL with 10 interceptions and the 3rd lowest EPA against the pass. So he might have to throw the ball a lot, but they've been very effective against the pass. Darnold's not running. He's not throwing it enough. I'm worried about him. I think he comes crashing back to earth in fantasy. He's playing fine.
Right, I was going to say,
in fantasy, it's just not a good option.
When you use the word super disappointing about Sam Darnold, I was like, you're the first person to say that about Sam so far this year, because
great.
The Seahawks made an audacious bet to trade Geno Smith, sign Sam Darnold.
Looking like a good move.
Looking like a stroke of genius.
Yeah.
Not only do they get younger, but they got a 3rd-round pick in the mix as well, and they also got an upgraded quarterback. So big time move there by Seattle. So you don't like him, but you do like.
I do like Matthew Stafford. That's a guy that's the streamer of the week, I think, in fantasy. And this is a guy that has, speaking of not rushing the ball, -4 rushing yards this season. So he's actually hurt you. It would be better off if he didn't do anything with his legs than it is with him actually losing 4 yards. However, he does have 375-plus passing yards and 3 touchdowns in 2 straight games, 25-plus fantasy points in both of those. Leads the NFL in passing, 2nd in pass attempts, completions, and touchdowns. I still don't like him long term. This is a guy that's been 17th or lower in points per game each of the last 3 years.
Yep.
Has 1 rushing touchdown since 2017. So I don't think this will sustain all year long. However, they're playing the Baltimore Ravens, who are still very injury plagued. They've allowed the most passing touchdowns and are top 3 in yards and fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks this season.
This game is in LA, right?
It is in Baltimore.
Okay, it's in Baltimore.
But I don't know that matters because the Ravens are so shorthanded.
I know, that's the thing.
And the Rams are playing so well. I mean, I have Stafford at QB5. I think this is going to be the week to play him.
Do you ever have those moments, though, where you rank a player really high and you're still like a little bit nervous? Because this is one of those for
Justin
me.
Fields last week. And that almost went terribly. I mean, the garbage time saved our butts on that.
And the only reason why I'm a little nervous about Matthew Stafford, who I still have ranked as quarterback 5, and I have him as a streaming option in the league this week, and I will I will be starting him, is just like football narrative here. The Ravens, who are just down for the count right now, they know that they need that bye week, which is coming next week. And Lamar Jackson probably is available on the other side of the bye week, probably not available this week. Kyle Hamilton might practice. Maybe they'll get a couple of defensive reinforcements back. Proud organization, completely embarrassed last week at home. Can we really get embarrassed in back-to-back weeks? Or they make it kind of competitive? I mean, the Rams just lost to a team that was down their starting quarterback, 2 top wide receivers, their best defensive player, and a few others. I know I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth.
Yeah, because I think the Rams are going to feel the same way, right?
The Rams are coming in with some hot tinkle.
I feel there we go, Field.
You know,
here's the thing. I feel like you're couching expectations on Matthew Stafford right now.
I mean, I have him as quarterback 5. So I want to be very clear that I have the player as an obvious start. I just am like a touch more nervous compared to other quarterbacks that I have in that range.
Speaking of couching expectations, Mike, can we get an update on the couch situation that we had yesterday?
We have a couch.
You have a couch officially? All right. Congratulations.
My neighbor was kind enough to go over and let them in. So we have
I just got the Adam Schefter tweet notification.
Oh, he did?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
We got the old couch. It's gone. It's shipped back on its way back to California. New couch has been delivered. So rest easy.
Did you get to sit on it last night?
We did. We sat on a little bit. We went out to dinner with Tyler and Jazzy, but when we came back, we relaxed a little bit for a couple minutes.
What's its comfort ranking?
You know, the funny thing, and this is what I learned about sofas, is it's new sofas will take a little.
Yes.
It has upside, right? It has upside. It's very good, but there's upside for even more as you break it in a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
Comfier, but
of course,
came with an insane amount of pillows.
Really?
I literally can't express how many pillows.
You're like, I don't know what to do with all these pillows.
I don't know what to do with them.
Yeah,
I don't know what to do with them.
That'll help.
Way too many pillows. It's unnecessary.
All right. I'm going to talk about one more player here really quickly. Actually, I got 2 more players. I think we got a couple more that we can dive into, but I'm going to talk about James Cook really quickly.
Okay.
You may be saying, why are you talking about the running back 4? The dude's been awesome. And again, this is one of those like matchups that I just want to be able to highlight. James Cook, in case you don't roster him, and if you roster him, you probably already know this, but he started this season on fire.
Yeah.
18 or more touches and 100 yards from scrimmage and a touchdown in every single game to start the season through his first 4 games.
Like that?
Yeah.
Last week, unfortunately, fell flat in like a major way in this weird game against the Patriots. Only 4.9 fantasy points, unfortunately, wasn't great. This week, though, gets the Falcons' run defense. And this is not the Falcons that you saw in 2024. This defense looks markedly different than what you saw last year. Only 2 running backs have top 10 fantasy points, and nobody has topped 14.5 fantasy points. It's been a really low ceiling for running back so far this year. No one at the running back position has even hit 80 yards from scrimmage so far this season. Oh, and they've only allowed 1 rushing touchdown to running back. So, they have been really, really good. Naturally, that would mean they've probably allowed the fewest fantasy points to the position, and they have. So if you're wondering why, when you look at the rankings and you're trying to decide who do I need to start this week, why is the guy that's ranked RB4 in the season all the way down outside the top 10? He's actually running back 12 right now in consensus. It's just because this Falcons defense is that legit. Still starting James Cook, not taking him out of the lineup, but just lowering my expectations a little bit because of the defense.
Yeah, that good calls all the way there.
That's all it is. Just want to make sure people know.
Monday Night Football doubleheader this week and the following week as well. Week 7, the doubleheader, 7 p.m. and 10 o'clock p.m.
Oh, boy.
So we got Seattle versus Houston in Seattle, 10 o'clock kickoff. So
wow. That's you said week
7.
Okay.
Yes.
And this week it's a 7:15, 8:15 or something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
So Tuesday's Fantasy Focus podcast will be a viewing party the second half of that game.
Yes, exactly.
Either that or it will be fuel. I will have an IV that is just caffeine.
That's right. Yeah.
See if you make it.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
All right.
The punishment that week is you have to make it all the way through. You have to prove you're awake after the game ends.
That would be so good. I watch people do like these like streamers that do video game stuff. They'll be like, I'm going to stream for 24 straight hours hours. I wonder if there's a way that we could set up like a punishment where it's like you've got to watch football for 24 straight hours without. That sounds like fun. Okay, guys. That sounds like Sundays.
Hang out on the new sofa with my feet up watching football.
I know that there's been a lot of conversation about this because last week's Sunday slate wasn't great during the day.
Yep.
So maybe this is where we are the exception and not the rule because we are going to be watching football no matter what in full on Sundays.
We're degenerates, of course.
Yes.
I freaking love the primetime slate this year. Like the doubleheader for week 6 is really good this week. Washington, Chicago's awesome.
Yep,
Buffalo,
those two quarterbacks.
Atlanta, it's good. We play primetime games.
It's honestly, I think we only played 4 games in the 1 o'clock window this year.
Oh, that'll change. Like the Chiefs have played like 1 o'clock game over the past 9 seasons. It's insane.
It's unbelievable.
That's what happens.
I love it actually because when I leave here, it's behind the curtain. We'll get back to football. But when I leave here on Sundays after fantasy football now, I got a half-hour drive home. So in those Lions games, I'm missing the entire first quarter. So not having to like worry about that is really nice. It's a big thing for me.
I'm going to tag team my last preview point as we keep things moving here. We talked a little bit about this earlier or suggested it. Are you guys concerned about starting Justin Fields and or Garrett Wilson against the Broncos in London? Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson both paid off in a major way last week. Wilson has been awesome so far this season. He's a top 5 scoring wide receiver. Fields has been what he normally is, which is plenty of rushing upside mixed in with some passing or with some passing mixed in. The Broncos are different, though, than basically every team the Jets have faced so far this season. The Broncos have allowed the 3rd fewest fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. They have not faced the most difficult slate. That being said, they have stood the test against some good offenses, and they've allowed the 5th fewest fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. They've allowed the 2nd fewest passing touchdowns. So if you're hoping for junk time from Justin Fields late in games, the Broncos defense, which is, I would argue, deep too, like they don't necessarily give you a lot in garbage time. And Mike, of course, Garrett Wilson could very well, in that same game, we might have a shadow for Cortland Sutton, not Garrett Wilson. Or maybe Garrett Wilson too.
Maybe
both.
Both. Well, we're going to get to that in the shadow report, so I'll leave it there for now. But yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Justin Fields.
Yes, definitely concerned.
Yeah, can I tell you guys one thing about Justin Fields? Because I was looking this up. Okay. Broncos have been excellent against mobile quarterbacks. What's the one thing that Justin Fields does well? We know that he utilizes his legs, second in the NFL in rushing amongst quarterbacks. Broncos played Daniel Jones. He had 6 carries for 2 yards against him. Played Jalen Hurts. He's a good rushing quarterback. 2 carries for 3 yards. Played Justin Herbert. He's mobile. He can use his legs. 2 carries for 6 yards. Jake Browning, 3 carries for 4 yards, and Cam Ward didn't have a single rushing yard.
Interesting.
They have allowed 15 rushing yards to quarterbacks so far this year, now taking on Justin Fields. So this is one of those tests where it's like, what are you watching in this game? Is Justin Fields going to be better than the defense with his legs? Because that's what I want to see.
14 for me this week is Justin
I wonder if that's just a great defense or they went into the season looking at the schedule thinking this is a priority for us. Like, we're going to play all these mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah. We got to find a way to figure it out.
Very interesting.
ESPN bet line is at 35.5 for Justin Fields rushing line. So I think it's an interesting one.
Hammering the under on that one. All right. One more for me.
One more for you, Mike Clay.
Alvin Kamara. Is he out of the lineup lock conversation?
I believe so.
I wrote about this in the playbook. Lineup lock no more. 1 touchdown this season. That was in week 1.
Yep.
He has cleared 72 yards once. That was in week 2, and he needed 27 touches to get there, which
to get 72 yards,
which is not a number that he
Field
generally
could do that.
Hey,
whoa!
I'm sorry, you're right.
Athletic.
Yeah, so it's the only time he's gotten to 72 yards. He needed that many touches, which again, you can't count on from him. And he's averaging 11.4 fantasy points per game this season. Yep. He is 11th in carries, which is good. That's higher than he is most seasons, but his receiving is down. That's a concern. 10th in catches among running backs. He has never finished lower than 5th in his entire career. He's 30 years old. So that's a little bit of a concern. Also, he did not lead the team in carries last week. That was Kendre Miller. Kamara, by the way, missing some practice time, so we'll see if he's even a go this week.
Limited yesterday.
That's right. Limited. We expect him to play, obviously, if you're limited, but definitely some concerns here. And they're playing the Patriots. You just talked about how they held James Cook in check. Yep. They're allowing 3.2 yards per carry this season. That is 3rd lowest in the NFL. 5th fewest fantasy points are running back.
So look at his. I know we're process driven. Mike especially is process driven, but look at the finishes for Alvin Kamara so far this season. RB 23, RB 17. That's his best. RB 45, 27, and 30.
Exactly right.
Gross.
Yeah, he's going. They're scaling him back a little bit.
They are. He's an interesting trade candidate. My buddy, or our buddy, Nick Underhill, who does an amazing job with New Orleans.football. I know Saints fans are all over that site, has talked about how he doesn't get the sense that Alvin if they're going to make trades of veteran players, and Nick's reported they might be open to offers, doesn't sound like Alvin's the kind of guy they would trade away. He's very dedicated to New Orleans, but he would be an intriguing name that if they ever change their stance on that, if Kamara could be shipped elsewhere with a couple of contenders in need of a running back, that might be the best boost to his fantasy value. Yeah. If he stays with the Saints, it just feels like the ceiling is pretty low here.
Kamara to the Chiefs would be awesome.
Everybody and their sister wants to make a Chiefs trade right now.
Yeah.
Brees Hall, Alvin Kamara, you name it. Chiefs
I don't want to do that.
But
no way.
When you have a
Not
great
this week.
when you have a great team like that is a clear void, it's so easy to connect up.
I think the Chiefs and the Bears are two teams that just seem to me like legitimate.
Yeah, I think the Bears just love DeAndre Swift. I feel like internally they're probably just like, why do people keep like connecting us to running backs?
Maybe
We're
that's
fine.
fair.
We just signed DeAndre Swift last year.
Also, they're like a younger, like still on the rise team, whereas the Chiefs are like, we're at championship level. We don't waste years because there are no years to waste.
Right.
Anyways,
doesn't it feel so weird that Alvin Kamara is where he's at, given the game script idea or the narrative of the Saints are down, they're throwing the ball a ton, and that's like what leads into what gives us his fantasy production.
Fastest offense.
Yeah, like all these things that like feel like they're lined up for Kamara to be good, and it's just still not working out.
30-year-old running back trying to work in Kendre Miller. Now Taysom Hill's going to steal touchdowns too. I mean,
I don't like it, Michael. All right, I got one more for you guys. I think Dak Prescott is ranked too low.
Okay.
I think it was supposed to be a question. See, on the slate, it says Dak Prescott ranked too low because it was supposed to be a question. And I decided overnight it's not a question. It's just a statement. You guys just have him ranked too low.
Yeah.
Why?
He's first in pass attempts. Okay. He's second in passing yards, third in passing touchdowns. He's got 10 of them. That all sounds pretty good. Oh, by the way, he's doing it all without a guy named CeeDee Lamb, who's pretty good at football. Week 2, he had over 22 fantasy points. Week 4, he had over 31 fantasy points. Week 5, he had over 28 fantasy points. If you throw out week 1 of the season, and trust me, as a Lions fan, I would love to throw out week 1 of the season. But if you can throw out week 1 of the season, Dak Prescott is quarterback 1 in total fantasy points and points per game.
Yep.
He has been unbelievable. And now he gets the Carolina Panthers. So maybe, all right, so we know Dak is really good based on all the stats that I just gave out. Now I'm looking at the Carolina Panthers. 9th fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks this year. All right, maybe it's just like a really tough matchup. But is it really? Is it really, guys?
You tell me.
I love you both. Trevor Lawrence in week 1. Trevor Lawrence is quarterback 18 on the season. Yeah. Kyler Murray in week 2. Kyler's quarterback 17 on the season. Michael Penix in week 3. Quarterback 27 on the season. Drake May in week 4. Finally played a guy that's inside the top 10. He's quarterback 7. And then week 5 played Tua. He's quarterback 19. So they have not played a single quarterback other than Drake May who's been better than quarterback 17 so far this year. And now you've got the guy that leads the NFL in basically pass attempts, passing yardage, and passing touchdowns, or he's at least in the top 3 of all of those categories. Yeah. And I feel like, I don't know why we have him ranked so low. Maybe I'm just a believer in Dak Prescott. Go ahead.
I'll give you 2 reasons. One, he's 21st in carries. That's still a problem. And he has his one rushing touchdown per season.
Yep.
Yes.
He scored his rushing touchdown, so that's behind us.
Okay.
He scores one a season. Maybe he'll get 2, but generally 1. And it's the guys ahead of him that we have. Okay, so I have him at 7, or I have him at 9. Jaden Daniels, who's been out. I mean, he's back now. He has Chicago. Josh Allen, of course. Jalen Hurts, of course.
Sure.
Justin Herbert is Miami. Matthew Stafford is Baltimore. We love them.
Love both of those. I'm with you on that.
Caleb Williams is back from bye against Washington. Great
Looking
matchup.
good. Great matchup.
Patrick Mahomes, he's talked about him running and throwing.
He's behind Dak Prescott.
All right. And Baker Mayfield.
He is in front of Dak.
Terrific as well. He's averaging more fantasy points per game than Dak this year, who you mentioned is putting all them passing numbers up, as is Mahomes, by the way, who's averaging 23 to Dak's 20 a game. So that's it. That's all I have ahead of him, and I'm comfortable with that.
I've got Dak Prescott at quarterback 6. Right now, consensus is
him?
Quarterback 9. Behind Dak Prescott is Justin Herbert, Caleb Williams, Baker Mayfield, and Patrick Mahomes. You guys want to
board bet each other?
Oh, my goodness.
6 to 10, 6 to 9?
How high do you think Dak finishes this week is the question.
I've got him ranked as quarterback 6.
Okay.
So I am fine saying that Dak finishes as a top 5 let's say top 6 quarterback. Are you okay saying top 6?
Top 6? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But wait, you've got him at 10?
I have him at 9, yeah.
I really should get at least 7. I should get top 7.
I'm asking you. You take what you want.
Are you okay with 7?
I have no skin in the game. So
I think that Dak Prescott finishes as a top 7 guy. You think he finishes as quarterback 9 or lower. And if he finishes as quarterback 8 exactly, then Field wins.
I get $10,000 from each of you.
That's it.
Okay.
All right. So I say Dak Prescott is a top 7 quarterback here in week 6.
I say Dak Prescott finishes 9th or lower at quarterback in fantasy points this week.
And I say Dak Prescott finishes exactly as quarterback 8.
Put it on the board.
Put it on the board.
All right, that's what we needed. That's what we needed.
Rip through some stuff here. We had a lot to get to in the last 15 minutes.
Yes, we really do.
Yeah, we got Shadow. Thursday night. Okay, let's do Shadow Report really quick. Ready?
We're going to do, before we do the Shadow Report, it's all right, Mike, just 1 second. I'm going to do one thing, and then we'll dive into it. Because right now, it's time for the Real Deal presented by Little Caesars. We are picking one player rostered under 60% each week. If they reach 15 fantasy points or more, you get to come back on Monday for a 15% off promo code from Little Caesars. And this week, Mike decided to rain on our parade because the options are pretty limited, but we're going with a quarterback named Sam Darnold.
Heyo.
This week.
Wow, Mike.
Who's projected for 15.1 fantasy points over the Jaguars each of the last 4 weeks. 15.8, 16.7, 16.1, and 27.6. He's hit this line 4 straight weeks in a row. The connection with JSN looks elite. Maybe he gets a deep shot to Torrey Horton or find some of his other guys there. So I'm looking for 200 passing yards and 2 touchdowns against the Jags. That'll get us to 15 fantasy points. That is why Sam Darnold is our Week 6 Real Deal player here, presented by Little Caesars.
Well done.
Man, after people watching the show are going to be like, man, I wanted pizza. Darn it.
No. Shoot. Sam Darnold, here's the thing. Sam Darnold can get to 15 fantasy points and still not be a good fantasy quarterback, and we can both win this week.
That was a joke. I have him at 15.1 points, so he's going to get there.
Of course he's going to get there.
Much like Dart, right? Didn't Dart just get there?
He just got there, yes.
You'll be throwing a dart on your Sam Darnold projection.
Ooh, I like it.
More specifically.
Let's see how close we get. All right. All right, ready?
Yes.
Shadow Report, super quick. All this is laid out in detail in the the playbook, which is at ESPN.com. So you can go over there and check that out. But
great.
Here's what we got. Upgrades. Shadow Report upgrades. Panthers receivers against the Cowboys. So Tedero, McMillan, and even Xavier Legette, who I'd like to see more volume. But how about that touchdown last
touchdown
week?
was nice.
Awesome. That guy is talent. So like them for sure. Rams receivers against the Ravens. We already talked about this matchup. So Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, you're starting them. Little sleeper appeal for Tutu Atwell.
How often do we have 2 wide receivers from the same team ranked as top 3 wide receivers on the week?
Yeah,
that's how good wild. This matchup is.
I'm sure there's a way to check this. It would require way too much effort, but it's probably been a long time.
Yeah, I can't even think of who it would be. I'd have to think about that.
Brandon Marshall,
T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. But what kind of a matchup would you need to have T be that high? You know what I mean? It's crazy that they're both as high as they are. It's an incredible matchup.
No doubt. So we got the Rams against the Ravens, who are still shorthanded in the secondary. Probably no Awuzie or Marlon Humphrey again this week. Titans receivers against the Raiders. We pick on them every single week, but Calvin Ridley coming off a good game, finally in a good matchup, as another good matchup. Sir. So good news for him and Fields guy, Alec Manor. And then Chiefs receivers against the Lions. You touched on this earlier. Top 2 corners, most notably the top 2 corners, Arnold and Reed, are going to be out for this game. Sets up the Chiefs well. The Lions, as is, have allowed the 4th most touchdowns to receivers on the season. Now they're down their top 2 corners. So Chiefs receivers like Xavier Worthy, obviously being the main one, in a very good spot this week.
That checks out, though, right? I mean, Lions giving up that many touchdowns to receivers because with them scoring the most points in the NFL, people just have to play from behind, right? You're doing a lot of passing.
Yeah, 7th most fantasy points allowed. Yeah, we saw that last year as well, even when they were playing well.
Wait for this game, man.
It's going to be a really fun one.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Really fun.
Last game, of course, for the Chiefs without Rashee Rice as well. So
yeah, that's right. Big one.
Grateful for that.
Shake things up. Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of investment there.
Glad it paid.
Fantasy.
Yes. Well, both glad that we're going to get Rashee Rice back next week and that he's not coming back this week.
Right.
I'm threading the needle.
I believe the Commanders in week 7.
That's fine. Let Washington deal with it.
Probably
good matchup.
Yeah. And really,
I'm good with
us.
Yeah,
Is
like
that correct?
that.
Let me get that.
Okay.
Is that correctly? Oh, that's week 8. My bad.
Ready? Ready for downgrades?
You're doing downgrades. Give it to me.
I'm trying to be fast here.
No,
I know.
Go. Fight.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Downgrades, guys. I only got 2 here and there in the same game. Cortland Sutton is going to draw the Sauce Gardner shadow in this game.
2 catches last week.
Yeah, he did. He's playing well. What's more interesting about this is, Sauce is allowed. He's shadowed DK Metcalf, Mike Evans, George Pickens. They've all been under 14 fantasy points. All above 12, but below 14.
Which Broncos pass catcher steps up here outside of Cortland Sutton?
So that's the next part of this because that's what's interesting. He shadowed in those 3 games. Okay, so of course it was the Steelers, the Bucks, and the Cowboys.
Yep.
The 3 highest scoring receivers against the Jets this season were the secondary receivers in those same games.
Wow.
So the guys opposite,
Ryan Flynn,
Metcalf, Evans, and Pickens. Flournoy, Calvin Austin, and Emeka Ibuka. They all had 14-plus fantasy points. They're the only ones that have scored 14 points against this team, against the Jets this season.
Yeah. Is that Marvin Mims? Is that Evan Ingram? Is that Troy Franklin? Which one is it?
Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, and Pat Bryant's had an extended role the last few weeks as well.
It's going to be somebody that we're not talking about. Like it's
Trent
going
Sherfield.
to be
yes.
Sherfield wearing number 5 is going to have 2 touchdowns. It's not going to be the obvious.
I think that's deeply.
I like that. I like it, Mike.
Mims, that was very fascinating.
FF now long shots.
Yeah, because Sauce
I guess
Gardner's
that
done
wouldn't
well
work because we have the game already going. But the point still holds.
Sauce Gardner's done well, but the Jets overall have led the second highest EPA against the pass. So it shows you the guy's away from where Sauce is. He'll be in.
I love that.
Sutton looking good. So very fast.
Good nugget, Mike.
Maybe that would have been a good check this out.
That's all right.
If I wanted to check this out, and I said no, that would have been the one. Garrett Wilson, same game. Pat Surtain, he is shadowed in every game this season. The point totals in those games, 6 points from the number one receivers he's faced, 6.7, 8.0, 14.9, 7.3, and last week against A.J. Brown, 9.3. That's 9.2 fantasy points per game. Garrett Wilson draws him in this game. It's going to be tough.
It's so great that the one guy that scored 14.9 is Quentin Johnston.
Yeah,
out of all the people,
don't hate. Don't hate.
I like going back to the well with Johnson this week. He didn't score last week, had a down game, but I expect him to come back this week.
That's right.
It's been awesome. 2 other shadows, guys. Not really moving the needle here, so don't worry too much about him. Marvin Harrison Jr. against Charvarius Ward. I think he'll shadow him. He shadowed in a couple games, but not super concerned about this because the Colts are throwing on a lot and have led the 5th most fantasy points to receivers this season. And then Drake London against Christian Benford. Benford shadowed Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill, and Chris Olave. They were fine. Benford's not playing at a super high level so far this season. Tre'Davious White on the other side has shadowed Jalen Waddle and Rashid Shaheed. We're fine. He'll see Darnell Mooney in this game. But again, these ones those guys haven't played well enough that I'm super concerned about them.
It does seem like we'll see Darnell Mooney as well. Had a bye week last week,
yep.
and then he was hurt before that. But it does sound like he will be back. I think that most notably factors in for Kyle Pitts managers that we're looking for volume there. But just a good mention. All right, nice job, Mike Clay. Go check that out at ESPN.com. We call it the Shadow Report. It's actually called the Playbook. The Shadow Report in the Playbook is no longer.
The playbook.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. They've all been baked into one thing now, like
working smarter, not harder.
Casserole, like a ratatouille. Some might say.
Ratatouille had that last night.
That's right.
Anyone can cook.
Let's do a little Thursday Night Football preview. Mike, I can't help but notice you're wearing your Kelly Green sweater as the Giants take on the Eagles.
I wear my uniform here. I got the green sneakers.
You got green sneakers on? Let's see them. Let's see them.
Yeah, I got the green
Look at that. That's
sweet.
Yeah, man. I like
Mike
that.
Clay and I will be in attendance tonight for the game.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yep, headed down.
That's amazing because my main takeaway that I'm watching for is to see if I can see you and Mike in the stands, obviously shirtless with body paint holding up signs.
Yeah, we're going to the game together because we're P friends, obviously.
Oh, no, guys.
Now you know. We had to break the news to you.
Oh, this is how I find out in front of everybody at home?
Yeah.
Mama Dopp is watching.
Yeah, she'd be so disappointed. Sorry, people. Yeah.
Sorry. I bet if the Lions were playing the Giants, then you'd be P friends.
Yes, then it would be that.
Eagle, so.
No, you guys are going to have a ton of fun at the game tonight. Going to be a blast, obviously. What are you watching for while you were down there at the stadium?
One thing on my mind tonight is tonight the Saquon breakout night.
Yeah.
It feels like it could be the one because they play the Giants, who I'm not talking about just the revenge factor, but I'm sure Saquon will have just a tiny extra bit of motivation playing as a visitor at MetLife Stadium against the Giants for the second time in his career. But the Giants are also allowing 140 rushing yards per game. They have really struggled against the run so far this season. I am a big believer. I talked about this on NFL Live yesterday. I think the Eagles offense is going to figure some things out. When you're at the top, you don't get as much grace to begin the season. People expect you to come back and be the exact same level that you were. For the Lions, it took them one game to get back on track. For the Eagles, it's taken a little bit longer. I think the offense finds its way sooner rather than later. I think it begins tonight with a big Saquon night.
Yeah, and this ESPN bet agrees with you because the props for the Eagles offensive players are high. I mean, it would be
88.5 for Saquon.
Yeah, which he's been there once this season. I mean, he doesn't have 100 yards in a game. A.J. Brown's numbers are high. I mean, the book
big expectation.
The Eagles offense to deliver against the struggling defense.
The best thing for a team that experienced its first loss in a long time, short week on the road.
Yeah.
The Eagles had no time to sulk over losing to the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, to the Broncos.
Yeah.
You just turn around and you get ready for the Giants.
Yeah, I think they'll be okay for sure. By the way, Giants let down last week. I know some of you were a little more optimistic in the Saints, but I expected them to step up and this is a good, talented defense. Yeah. And Jackson Dart, game 2, playing better than Russ was. Just disappointing. Just disappointing. I thought they would be better this season, so we'll see if they show up for this game. Do you want mine?
Yes.
Theo Johnson. I'm watching him. We talked about him earlier in this game. So I don't know if I have much more to add. Touchdown on 5 targets 2 weeks ago, 2 touchdowns and 7 targets last week. Tied for the team lead in targets during that stretch. Again, yet to clear 34 yards in a game. I'm curious to see if they utilize him more downfield, get him some big plays. But the Eagles have been very good against tight ends. NFL low 4.1 yards per target. So ideally, I'm not starting Theo Johnson this week, but I think with Neighbors out long-term, Slayton out now, fine to put on your bench.
Theo Johnson is one of those tight ends that because of the position right now that we're still kind of like waiting to see does something materialize because we've seen a little bit of production, right? Theo Johnson, we've seen it from Darren Waller is kind of the same way. I think Colston Loveland, when he comes back, like there's a couple of these guys.
Him before, by the way. That's another one. He's come out and see 7 targets.
Yeah. He's the one that has my attention.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of these guys that hopefully, I mean, with where the tight end position at is, if Theo Johnson can establish himself, he could be a potential fantasy asset for us down the stretch. So I love that one as well, Mike. I am watching Cam's usage with Tracy integration in this offense.
Like that,
Cam Scatterbo had 48 touches over the last 2 weeks, including 8 receptions. He has been a monster right now in their backfield. But how are they going to work Tracy back in? What's the split going to look like? How much is it going to take to ramp him back up to full speed?
And this isn't even a questionable, but reporting suggests he'll play. Like he's off the injury report, is Tyrone Tracy Jr. entirely, so we will see him tonight. Good call right there, Daniel.
I will take the Eagles in this.
I will take the Eagles as well. What's the score here, Mike?
Fly, Eagles, fly.
I suggested 82-6 to Mike over text this morning. He thought that was a little bit off the mark.
Did you see Jaden Daniels' tweet about someone picked the score? It was like this, it was our friends over at NFL Network, like their score projections, and someone had like 82-0 for the Bears winning.
Oh,
and
no.
We had like
3-0.
Who is this guy? Who is G Daniels or whatever
Jay Daniels, yeah.
No, it was just G whatever person that predicted that. That was like the biggest blowout in NFL history. So the guy predicted that, but. Anyway, I thought it was funny that
Wait, did Jaden Daniels tweet that? I thought
Jaden Daniels. I think it was Jaden Daniels.
I don't think so. He's not up there anymore.
I don't know. Maybe it was somewhere else. I don't know. I saw it somewhere. I saw it earlier today. I don't know all the details, but I saw someone predicted that. And I thought it was Jaden Daniels. Anyway, I have a 25-17 Eagles.
25-17. Okay, 8. That's not bad.
Right.
Not bad.
I'll look for it later. I don't know.
Let's dive into our Raheim Sanders Monopoly Fund, my friends.
I think I'm retired.
That you're just going to go out on top?
You know what, though? I was thinking about this. No, honestly, the real pressure's on you now.
It's on me.
It's on you.
You're the yes, because you guys have gotten it.
And honestly, I feel like Tyquan Thornton he keeps delivering. Like that was.
Yeah, he's good.
That's a good find. I'm
happy. Xavier
Hutchinson
now becomes the new Nico Collins. You guys have all been warned.
That's true.
All right. Let's
Why don't you go first, Field? Since you got 2 touchdowns last week, you obviously know what you're doing here.
Yeah. So the new threshold is below 0.3%. We're going to be soon picking players that are not rostered in any leagues. My pick actually had 9.9 fantasy points last week. It all came on 4 targets. My pick is Tez Johnson, wide receiver.
Tez Johnson.
Last week, as I mentioned, 4 for 59 on those 4 targets. And Mike Evans unlikely to play this week. Chris Godwin had a smaller role last week. He did not practice yesterday. They're still sort of managing this fibula injury from last season. So give me Tez Johnson.
I like that. All right. I'm going to give you our producer's pick. Our producers, we're going with Gunnar Helm.
I like
rostered in 2% of leagues, taking on the Raiders. 0.2% of leagues, taking on the Raiders this week. So that's where our producers are at.
Like it.
Mike, where are you going, bud?
They continue to say he'll play more and more and more.
Mine was on Monday 0.0% rostered. Now he's 0.1% rostered.
You're moving the needle.
Hunter Long.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yes, another tight end. Brenton Strange is out. And
Mike.
Hunter Long has 2 touchdowns this season already on 8 targets, so he's going to play a larger role.
All right, I love that. And how about we just Field? I feel like you missed the memo, but I'm going to go with a 3rd tight end here this week, my friends, and go with Luke Musgrave. Wow. You had me at the Bengals. That's why.
Interesting.
It's just the Cincinnati Bengals.
I like it.
Why not? He's been getting a little bit of playing time, not a ton of playing time. These are dart throws. What do you want me to do?
Tight end week.
As we talked about on Tuesday, the justification for your pick of a player who's available in all but 0.2% of leagues is not usually a very strong justification.
Correct.
It's usually YOLO.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it, though, because also we're looking at these deep guys and giving some awareness, because now people have heard of Gunnar Helm that maybe.
Yes.
I mean, we're batting 500.
And Gunnar Helm, like for a 4th round pick, he's making a quick impact. This could be at some time down the road a fantasy starter.
Yep.
Like, so it's good to keep an eye on these guys.
So if we did a Tez Johnson, Gunnar Helm, Luke Musgrave.
Yeah, that's what we need to start doing.
That's our 4-leg parlay at ESPN Bet. It would be plus 1,250,000 is what it would be.
We would just shut ESPN Bet down.
Honestly,
We would
that would be
bankrupt
Oh
incredible.
my goodness.
Is that possible?
That's hilarious.
I don't know.
Probably, right?
That would
I
be
want to do
fun.
it. Yeah.
That would be a good time. All right. That's going to do it for us today. I'm going to be back tomorrow. These two, I'm not sure about. I'm not sure whether or not you're going to be back for
You
the
and
game or
Liz.
not.
Yeah.
I believe it's
Yeah,
going to be
we're gonna-
me and Liz Loza. So make sure you buckle up for that. That's going to be a ton of fun.
We're going to the post-game party with the winning team.
Of
Whoever
course,
wins
you guys
tonight, we'll
are.
be out
I hope
partying
you have
with,
a ton of fun.
We'll be in Philly
40-40
party.
club for us.
Yeah. Hey, nothing wrong with that. I was trying to think of a good comeback, and I got nothing. Nope. I'll be here, though, guys. Don't worry. I'll be here hanging out with you. Today's show is presented by Little Caesars. Don't forget to love each other. Be kind to yourself. You deserve it. And we'll see you back here on Friday for another big show.
P friends.
See you guys.
You're in the whole city.